Imagine a world in which every second person disappears in 4 years. Cities are emptied in weeks, where the dead cannot be buried in time and are piled up in the streets. A world where parents abandon their children and priests refuse to confess the dying for fear of infection. Between 1347 and 1353, such a world became a reality. The bubonic plague pandemic, known as the Black Death, killed between 75 and 200 million people, between a third and a half of the entire population of Europe. To understand the scale, if a similar disaster occurred today, about 3 billion people would die in 6 years. In this video, we tell the story of how a microscopic bacterium changed the course of human civilization. The world before the catastrophe. The 13th century was a time of prosperity for medieval civilization. The population of Europe grew at an unprecedented rate. Between 1000 and 1300, it nearly tripled, from 40 million to approximately 75 million people. Cities were built, Gothic cathedrals were erected, and trade flourished. Cities expanded. Paris, the largest city in Europe, had a population of about 200,000. The Silk Road connected the Yuan Empire in China with Italian ports. Goods, ideas, and technologies moved faster than ever before. But in 1315, the Great Famine struck. 3 years of crop failures swept across Northern Europe. Up to 10% of the population died. People's immune systems are weakened. Cities are overpopulated. Not only families live in houses, but also livestock, cows, pigs, chickens, rats, the constant companions of medieval cities, thrive in unsanitary conditions. Spread of the disaster. The bacterium appeared and lived in populations of marmots and other rodents in the steppes of Asia for thousands of years. But in the 1330s, something changed. The first outbreaks were recorded on the Great Silk Road in 1338. By 1346, the plague had reached the Golden Horde. The Mongolian troops of Khan Janibek laid siege to the Genoese fortress of Kaffa in Crimea. The Genoese merchants fled by sea. They carried not only goods, but also rats, fleas, and death. October 1347. 12 Genoese galleys arrive at the port of Messina in Sicily. Most of the sailors are dead or dying. Their bodies are covered with black buboes, swollen lymph nodes the size of apples. The authorities panic and expel the ships, but it is too late. The rats have come ashore. The speed of its spread is astonishing. By January 1348, the plague has spread throughout Italy. By June, it reaches Paris. By August, London. By the end of the year, Scandinavia. In 2 years, the disease crosses the continent from Sicily to Norway, from Portugal to Russia. The plague moved at a speed of about 4 kilometers per day, the speed of a rat running from house to house, from village to village. But in cities, the spread was explosive. Florence lost 60% of its population in 4 months. Venice lost up to 50%. Avignon. Small towns and villages sometimes died out completely. There were 3 types of plague in total. The first was bubonic plague. A flea bites a person, and bacteria migrate to the lymph nodes. After 2 to 6 days, buboes appear on the neck, groin, and armpits. The temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius, and delirium sets in. The mortality rate is about 60%. In survivors, the buboes either burst, releasing liters of pus, or dissolve. Pneumonic plague. Bacteria attack the lungs. The patient coughs up blood, each cough spraying millions of bacteria. It is transmitted directly from person to person. The mortality rate is 95%. Death occurs within 2 to 3 days. Septic plague. Bacteria enter the bloodstream directly. The blood turns black from gangrene. Fingers, nose, and limbs die and turn black while the patient is still alive. Hence the name Black Death. Mortality rate, almost 100%. Death can occur on the same day. Giovanni Boccaccio, who survived the epidemic in Florence, describes it this way: men and women alike develop swellings in the groin or armpits. Some reached the size of a normal apple, others the size of an egg. The people called them gavocciolo. The deadly gavocciolo quickly spread throughout the body, and then the signs of the disease began to change into black or purple spots. But medieval sources do not convey the full picture of suffering. Buboes are inflamed lymph nodes filled with pus and blood. They could reach the size of an orange. Fever rose to 40 degrees. Convulsions, delirium, and hallucinations began. The brain literally boiled in the skull. Modern methods of treatment, antibiotics, were unthinkable in the Middle Ages. Doctors were powerless. Public reaction. Medicine at that time was based on Galen's theory of the four humors. Doctors believed that the plague was caused by miasmas, poisonous vapors. They recommended burning aromatic herbs, avoiding baths, which supposedly open the pores to toxins, and drinking vinegar. Plague doctors appeared wearing distinctive masks with long beaks. The beaks were filled with aromatic substances, roses, camphor, cloves, to protect against bad air. This did not work, but the leather suits and gloves accidentally provided some protection against fleas. Cities take quarantine measures without even understanding the true nature of the disease. In 1348, Venice is the first to introduce a 40-day isolation period for arriving ships. Milan closes the city gates and walls up infected houses along with their inhabitants. Milan loses only 15% of its population. Society disintegrated. Giovanni Boccaccio wrote in the Decameron, "Brothers abandoned brothers, uncles abandoned nephews, sisters abandoned brothers, wives abandoned husbands. Worse still, parents refused to visit and care for their children as if they were strangers." Flagellants appeared, wandering groups of fanatics who whipped themselves with chains and whips. Considering the plague to be God's punishment for sins, crowds of thousands walked through cities, spreading panic and, ironically, the plague itself. Consequences. Recede. Conclusion. The plague was not uniform. Milan lost 15% of its population. Florence lost 60%. Poland was virtually unaffected. King Casimir III closed the borders early. After the pandemic, the average life expectancy of survivors increased. There was more food per person, less hunger, and better conditions. The plague still exists. Every year, 600 to 700 cases are reported worldwide, mainly in Madagascar, Congo, and Peru. But modern medicine treats the plague with antibiotics. With early diagnosis, the survival rate is 95%. The Black Death shows us the fragility of civilization and the power of nature. In a few years, a microscopic bacterium did what no army could do. It changed the political, economic, and social structure of an entire continent.